Hi, everyone. Happy Disability Pride Month. My name is Nico Meyering. I'm a white man with blonde hair, large dark glasses, and a orange and blue checkered shirt. I'm seated in front of a blurred orange and green background of my kitchen. I'm here today with my friend, Chris. Chris, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, so my name is Chris or Chrissy. I am white presenting, although multiracial technically. I have dirty blonde hair, brown eyes, and I'm also before I've seated blurred background and a black tank top. Um, yeah, any other details, Nico?
I think that's fine. You
Okay,
did great.
thanks.
Visual descriptions are something that I'm always trying to improve on myself. So progress rather than perfection.
Yeah.
Chris, what does disability pride mean to you?
I think there's like different definitions within like the term disability, and so that's something that I've grappled with, even like as we talk about disability pride. So there's like the legal definition, right? Which is what I even asked you when you asked to interview me. I was like, well, do you mean legally? Because legally, no, I wouldn't necessarily fall under that category. But for me, like disability pride would mean like there are things that I have to deal with on a daily basis that other people don't have to deal with, besides the cats behind me that are going insane. Um, they, just like physical things that then impact mental and emotional wellness as well. That I just have to like build into my daily life, and having like an opportunity to talk about that, because we don't like, right, like it's not something that most people feel comfortable with us just being like, oh man, my thing today.
Yeah.
So having like a pride month allows an opportunity for people to talk about those things more openly, so that it just increases that awareness and increases like acceptance, and other people can better understand like where I'm coming from, or anyone who has any like hindrances coming from when they struggle or when they're not able to meet the expectations that other people have set for them.
Thank you for your answer. I agree that within the disabled community, we're more able to talk about this aspect of our lives and not have to shoulder as many expectations that we might have to in other circles. What are some lessons that being disabled has taught you?
Um, I don't know, because it's just like always been there. So like I can't differentiate like what's a lesson and what's just like my personality. Like I could
Yeah,
say like time management, right? Like it's forced me to be like really intentional about time and space, and planning ahead and making sure I have what I need. But like that could also just be my personality. So, I
sure.
don't know. Like it is, because it's been such an integral part of just like my life. It's hard to differentiate sometimes like what's distinctly caused by disability or divergence and what's specifically caused by just me without that.
That's valid. Where do I start and my disability ends, or
Yeah.
vice versa?
Yeah.
I think about this a lot myself. I was in a conversation with someone a few days ago, and we went over all of the things we had to keep track of as kids to see to our physical health and how that maybe impacted the adults we became.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah. And
totally
like
get that.
my physical illnesses like weren't officially diagnosed till I was 18,
Mhm.
but like and my autism wasn't officially diagnosed till like my late 20s. And so, you know, having like looking back on my childhood, I guess like there are so many things that like could have been prevented or could have been addressed had I known then and like been
Mhm.
able to keep track of those things. And I think about that a lot because, I just think about like all like the scrapes I got into, or like, like physically, mentally, and then socially. And I'm like, man, like if like now I know to plan for that, right? So maybe to some extent, I think, I'm fortunate that I have like a really organized mind and can really keep track of a lot of things at once. My PhD is in planning, because like once my kidney disease was diagnosed, for example, like the list of things I had to keep track of just became infinitely more. And the environment in which I was raised really would not have allowed me to take care of myself anyway. Like we just had limited resources, limited access to medical care and the appropriate diet and things like that are really among the top things I need to take care of, for that specifically.
I'm sorry that you didn't have those resources as a kid.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I appreciate them now more, like as an adult, I think.
Valid. What are some things that you had to unlearn as a result of your disabled journey? Some kind of flipping the last question on its head.
Yeah, so that's a great one. So I'm autistic and I have kidney disease, and I think those are kind of the two big issues. Like I have other things that like are caused by that, like thyroid issues and other autoimmune conditions, and then other neurodivergencies. But those are kind of the two big ones, right? And so let's like do each one, right? For the kidney disease, I think right now specifically, because I was always very fortunate that, maybe because like not having enough like to eat growing up, whatever, I was always very physically fit. And I was also like an athlete. And when I was first diagnosed, like 18, 19, I had to unlearn that, like being a power athlete. And I had to learn to do other types of physical fitness, but I really enjoyed those, like doing yoga and doing like acro-yoga and things that are less cardio, right? Because I can't increase my blood pressure beyond a certain point, or like my kidneys will leak blood and protein and cause further damage. So like I have to find ways of staying fit that address that. Most recently, like being pregnant and having a baby, now like I have to really, so I was fortunate that like my body still looked like in shape, and I was like, looked the way I wanted to look, and was like socially held in high regard to like look thin and athletic. But now like having to unlearn those, and like my kidney diseases specifically making it made pregnancy harder, because like I gained a lot more weight than other people would have due to like fluid retention and just like having other, like my thyroid like slowly decreasing function and having liver damage as well as a result. Like those things caused me to like gain more weight and like bloat more than even like a normal pregnant person would. And then now having to like, it's like just a much slower, heavier process to like go, in quotations, going back, right? Like, and like of course we don't ever go back, but I feel like I'm working really hard and not seeing as many results as like other pregnant people would. So I have to like convince myself that like, no, my body's like, okay, like it's okay how I look, and sort of unlearn those social conditionings of like how we, especially as women, are like expected to look a certain way. And remind myself that like, because of my kidneys, this is going to be harder, and not just like expect it to be easy.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is gonna switch to the autistic side now.
Of course.
So I always consider myself to be like weird and strange. And as a child and as a teen, and then as a young adult, and now sometimes as an adult, I have like mantras that I say about like that try to talk myself into behaving the way that other people behave. And like I've written them down, I say them to myself, like I beat myself up about like not behaving in ways that other people are behaving and trying to like mimic that behavior. And sometimes I can do a really good job if I'm being like really intentional about it. But if I'm being like, now I know like it's overstimulation, right? Because I used to think like, oh, I'm just like unable to control my emotions, but like that's not really the case, right? It's that like I've been overstimulated and like it's just there's too much to control at one time because there's too much external stimulation, like things like that, like having to reposition how I think about what's causing an outburst or what's causing me to like say weird things, like even they're just saying calling them weird things, right? Just like different things that other people don't say or do. And I'm not always aware of like when I'm doing things that are different. I'm really appreciative of friends who like point that out to me so that I can like be aware of it at least. But just being more accepting that like I don't necessarily have to behave the way that other people are behaving. You know, it's like that won't make me a better version of me. That'll just be really hard to do and I'll continue to fail, right? That's the struggle that I've had where like I'm always disappointed in myself because I'm never able to like act the way that other people act or have the types of friendships that other people have, or like be in social situations or attend, you know, parties or parades or like things that other people find enjoyable, like I don't find enjoyable. And like that's okay too, you know, like going to the club and drinking and stuff like that. Like that's not something I'll ever be able to do and like have a healthy, good time for me.
That's very valid. And I really identify with what you've been saying about not finding large extroverted events particularly fun and having to struggle and suffer if you do find yourself in that situation or you keep trying to do something that you're not suited to.
Right.
I can also tell that you're a great planner because that answer was like so comprehensive and so well organized too. So I'm thankful for that. This brings me to my final question, and I'm really thankful for the time that we've shared together this morning. What's one thing that you want non-disabled people or able-bodied folks to know about the disabled experience?
I see a lot of memes that talk about that it's not like every day is not the same. You know, where they're like, oh, some days I can do things and some days I can't. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is that like just because I was able to have like a little bit of salt for breakfast doesn't mean I can have like big salt for dinner. In fact, it means the opposite, you know. Or like people be like, well, you ate this yesterday, because diet is a big thing for kidney disease. And like it's kind of more like Weight Watchers points, and that like I can have like up to a certain limit of certain things, and then there's some things that I just can't have at all. But you know, some people have gotten annoyed with me where I say like, oh, I can't eat that, and it's because like I've exceeded or like my body's struggling in particular that day, and they'll be like, well, you ate it before, like I saw you eat X, so like why you eat that, you know. Just like diets, just one example of like other similar types of things like exercise or activities, or you know, like there. And like, you know, my partner can very much attest to this, like there are times when I like physically cannot stay awake, like I just, it's so for me like certain chemicals and salt and, you know, things like that, or if my kidneys are having a hard time, it's as if I'm drunk. Like the way it feels and the way my body responds is very similar. So it'd be like asking like a really drunk person to just like sit up and like stay awake and have all this energy when like they all they want to do is pass out, or like all they're physically capable of doing is passing out, and like I have to sleep it off, like exactly like that. And I shouldn't push myself to that point, like I shouldn't overindulge to that point, but I don't always know where the overindulgence is, especially if like other people cooked. That's a big reason why I like to cook my own food, because like if I go to a restaurant or like I'm cooking with other people and then I fall asleep at their party and like they feel offended that I'm like sleeping on their couch, or like family gatherings or things like that, and it's like, well, you know, I didn't realize how much salt was in this food, or how much, you know, you use processed meat, and like I didn't realize that it was like steakum instead of like actual beef, you know, just things like that, that I think have caused like people to think I'm rude or stuff. And then like I don't even know where to begin with like the neurodivergence. Just like to be not like, don't get upset with me when I say or do things that like you wouldn't have wanted me to do, and also to be really clear about those boundaries and expectations. Like if like I can follow rules, so if someone says to me like, hey, like I need you to keep this a secret, or hey, I need you to like not get upset about this, or you know, you Chrissy, you need to like be quiet right now because like we're listening, or like, or even just like tell everybody, don't just tell me, but like, okay, like we're gonna speak one at a time. You know, I know it seems like pedantic, especially for adults, but like otherwise I just like blurt things out, or like I'll just like say things that I shouldn't have said. And that's gotten me in trouble a lot more than I care to say. Like just like said things I shouldn't have said. And I get that. Like it is a repeated issue throughout my life, right? And then the other big thing that's like gotten me into trouble is you know, we're just having like emotional episodes, for lack of like better description. And I think the people that have been around in those situations have tended to make it worse by like responding in a way that's like also over emotional. And so they like stimulation is built, and like it just gets like more and more out of control. And I can think of some like really severe ones, especially in like workplaces, that like just got, and like sports things as a kid, or like in school, we just got like way blown out of proportion. It never needed to get that far if I had just like had a minute to collect myself, or had someone to be like, hey, you know, I noticed like you seem to be overwhelmed right now, like you need a minute, or like let's talk about this later. And just being more tolerant of things like that. Like don't push someone that you think is emotionally getting like too emotional, because like they might just need time to like collect their thoughts and then like approach it more logically, because yeah, it just can be too much a lot of times. Like, and then I think finally just like including people even if you don't think they want to be included, you know, like, oh, I don't drink. Oh, so if she doesn't drink, we're not going to invite her to the happy hour with the staff, or we're not going to invite her to the party because she doesn't drink. And like, yeah, but I can still like hang out, you know, like that, nothing's going to prevent that. Or like, I can still get like happy hour usually has good snack deals too. Like, and I like snacks. So, so I would be down for that. You know, just like there are other ways of participating with a group beyond, beyond like what you think I can and can't do. Yeah, like I'll figure it out. That's for me to decide if it's something that's like too much for me or that I'm not interested in doing. But even just extending the invitation like helps to make sure everybody's like included. And I think that goes for so many other types of disabilities, you know, like I'm sure if someone has like a really obvious physical disability or is like restricted by having to be in a wheelchair, because I've had to be in a wheelchair before, like when my kidneys were really bad and I was having difficulty walking, like and I was very fortunate at the time that I had like friends who didn't exclude me. You know, in fact, I had friends who like would stand up for me when like other people would think I was just like in the wheelchair goofing off, you know. Like I could think specifically when I was a camp director, we had to go to the grocery store to get like stuff for the camp the next day for the kids. It was a day camp, and we had like the staff with us, and the other director was with me, and he and I have been friends for a long time. So he like knew, like it was just those days like really wore me out beyond like anything else. And so like we just pop in the wheelchair and he pushed me around and we'd get all of our stuff that we needed for the camp. And like so I had like store associates would come up and like this isn't the first, like this would happen at the mall, this would happen like a lot of other places too, where I would like borrow a wheelchair because like I don't have like, a car or transportation that's like designed to hold that, so I would just be like, oh, I'll just use theirs. And he'd be like, excuse me, that's like for people who need it, blah blah blah, or like things like that. But anyway, that's not what I was talking about. What I was saying is like if like someone has like a hearing or visual impairment or physical impairment, I think it's really easy for people to be like, oh, well, they can't go hiking with us, or they can't go to this picnic with us, or they can't, just assuming that people are not able to exist in certain spaces. And that's definitely not the case. Like we exist in spaces all the time and figure it out. So that's like, let us tell you if it's too much. And like, I don't tell very many people that I'm autistic. It was a late diagnosis, and so it didn't like become a thing when I was a kid. But I imagine that if I did, I would probably get excluded from more things than I already get excluded from just for being weird. So, so I guess I'll just let people continue to think that I'm weird. Yeah.
That was a very comprehensive answer. Thank you. And I'm sorry that in several situations your agency has been taken from you. Disabled agency matters too.
Yeah.
This is now your chance to like promote yourself, give any kind of mention to any projects you have going on. Where can people find you online? This is your soapbox chance.
Oh yeah, no, I don't like do that.
Okay.
Like a
That's
handle
fine.
or like a TikTok. I am doing research and teaching. I'm a doctoral fellow at Penn. And like I'm publishing some things coming out. And so my research specifically focuses on like social justices of the built environment. And so, a lot of this plays a key role in informing that. It's research I would like to continue. My specific projects I'm doing now focus a lot more on, well, I should say my dissertation focuses a lot more on like race income indicators of social justice, but in the broader scope, I have certainly also worked on like physical impairment issues and how that like plays into environmental justice specifically, and like smart design techniques and city planning. And I'm available as a consultant. I do consulting work in those spaces as well. Just, helping developers build better developments and figure out how to navigate like existing building and zoning codes in ways that are creative and allow buildable space. I specialize in development regulation and zoning code. So specifically regulatory spaces I spend a lot of time in. Yeah, that's what I do.
That's fantastic. Good luck on the rest of your PhD journey.
Thanks. I need to be done. I'm like ready to be done.
Yeah. There always comes a point where like
there's only so many times I can
tiring.
rewrite the same chapters. Yes.
That's true. All right. Well, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I hope you get your project done, and it seems really interesting.
Thank you.